Has that helped Head Start? Do you know? Has it improved its quality?
The Head Start evaluations are horrible. They find that it spends a lot of money, and they don't improve outcomes. Most of the results are null results.
They improve some outcomes. People are more likely to graduate, and they're less likely to be thrown in prison or get pregnant. But they don't improve cognitive.
I don't think that was the RCT though. I think that was more of like a regression with controls, which is
could
still
be. Well, the crucial issue is there's no evidence that Head Start improves academic performance, and that's a consequence of multiple reviews, and it's really a catastrophe that it's the case.
And the latest pre-K evaluation statewide was in Tennessee.
Yeah. When was that?
That was a few years ago. They followed them through 6th grade.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a randomized control trial. They found that those who won the lottery were worse off academically and behaviorally by the end of 6th grade.
Okay, the lottery meaning?
You won a lottery to get a scholarship to go to pre-K relative to the families who lost the lottery and stayed with their parents. Maybe because
they were worse behaviorally as well.
Maybe because the parents have an advantage at raising their own kids. Maybe they're better at disciplining the kids at home.
I did a very programmatic review of Head Start in the 80s. So that's quite a long time ago, but the programs had been operating for a very long time. And there were, I think, 5 major reviews. And at that time, the findings were that Head Start accelerated cognitive performance, so test scores, for a year or two following the interventions, but that by grade 6, there was no effect, but that the longer term effects seemed to be behavioral. And so reduced crime. No, they were positive.
Those were positive.
They were positive. Less pregnancy, less crime, and higher probability of graduating. So, and the relevant issue with regards to graduation in principle was that because the kids who had gone to Head Start behaved better, they were less likely to be held back. But you're saying that the more recent
Tennessee experiment, which is the latest one, RCT, negative effects on academics and behavior through 6th grade, which is the last year of the study. And I'd also say on the teenage pregnancy thing, that's another important outcome that we looked at in our follow-up crime study that was published in the Journal of Private Enterprise.
Yeah.
We found a reduction in crime, but also a 38% reduction in paternity disputes, which could be caused by out-of-wedlock births or, teenage pregnancies. And we also had there is an RCT.
That was with choice.
That was with a voucher program in Milwaukee. That one was not an RCT. We did the best we could with, we even controlled for neighborhood and like single parent households and religiosity, all as many demographics as you could get to control for. But another separate study in New York City was a charter school experiment by Roland Fryer and his co-author, published in the Journal of Political Economy, I believe in 2015. They found that winning a lottery to go to a charter school in New York City decreased the likelihood of crime for male students, because we're the ones causing all the trouble, by 100%. It was a complete elimination for lottery winners through the study period. I don't remember how long they covered. It might not have lasted forever. But through the study period, it was like 5% were incarcerated for the control group in the public schools. Lottery winners who got into the charter schools, 0%. So all this to say, on the Head Start thing, I don't bring up these analogies to say that we should. I'm not saying that I support Head Start or Pell Grants or food stamps. I'm saying if we're going to spend the money, we might as well fund the people as opposed to the buildings.
No, I understand. Well, I sidetracked a little bit into Head Start because doing that review for me was actually very disheartening. Because the thing about Head Start, and this can allow us to talk about political issues more broadly or conceptual issues, nobody liked the fact that poverty tended to persist multi-generationally. And there were reason to assume that if you gave so-called disadvantaged kids a Head Start, that A, that might work, but B, that it might even have self-reinforcing consequences, right? Because the idea was, well, you take the disadvantaged kids, you give them a bit of an academic boost when they're 3 or 4, and the consequence of that compounds with time. And so they're actually farther ahead of their peers by grade 6 because they got this Head Start, and that didn't happen. And that was a catastrophe for the right and the left politically, as far as I was concerned, because it was a reasonably motivated endeavor. Now, I did some arithmetic calculations with regards to Head Start to try to figure out how many adult minutes a Head Start program actually bought a given child, and the answer is virtually none. Yeah. And also, the Head Start programs were also used as employment programs, so the probability that a given Head Start teacher had any qualification was extremely low. You know, when you're dealing with 3- and 4-year-olds, let's say, it's very hard to, especially in groups, it's very hard to spend time teaching them anything because just taking care of 3- and 4-year-olds is such
a daycare program.
Well, exactly, and often not a good one. Now, when I was looking at the positive results, say in the 1980s, the hypothesis was Head Start might not have been good for most kids and probably not good at all for kids who had decent families, but for kids in absolutely wretched
can't get any worse, right?
Yeah. Well, maybe you.
Whereas if you're taking them away from parents that are already doing a good job, and you're kind of nudging them in that direction, they're going to be worse off.
Right. So, but you were convinced that the Tennessee data, that's the
latest
study.
Experiment, and it's peer-reviewed,
Oh, that's
published.
really too bad.
And the Head Starts that I've seen as far as the RCTs,
randomized control
fade
trial,
outs.
Yeah.
But one more thing that I think that I added that was really important to the conversation about school choice. I mean, one thing it's not all me, right? It was COVID that helped open the eyes of parents. I was just there with the right ideas laying around at the time, as Milton Friedman famously put it. We were taking a bipartisan strategy for a long time to get school choice. And I'm sure you've heard this before where people say like school choice is the civil rights issue of our time. We still have elected officials saying these things, using left-leaning arguments to advance school choice, which I think they're all good arguments. It's true that the lowest income are in the worst schools, that they would benefit the most. School choice is an equalizer. But there's also right-leaning arguments you can make about choosing schools that align with your values. The public schools are Marxist. We don't want gender ideology. We want schools that teach you that America is a great country, not a horrible country. And so you can make all these different types of arguments, but when you go into a red state making blue state arguments, these lefty arguments, you might alienate some of the Republican legislators who might say, this isn't my issue, so I'm not going to lead on it. And then the Democrats, they're controlled by the teachers unions anyway, so you're not going to make much ground with them regardless of the argument you're making. They respond to power, not logic. And then if you alienate the Republicans, we weren't really getting school choice passed in blue states or red states in a meaningful way. But now it's become more of a GOP litmus test issue. Voters have gone to the ballot box and held Republicans accountable for being against school choice. In Texas, my home state, we failed on school choice last year because we had 21 Republicans join all the Democrats in the House to kill school choice. And they came up with their arguments about how they were in rural areas and they didn't need to vote for this. But after the primaries, now 14 of them are gone. That was a political earthquake. And now, for the first time in Texas history, the House has 76 co-sponsors to pass a school choice bill, which has never happened, and you need 76 votes to pass a school choice bill.
What did you have to do with what happened in Virginia?
Well, in Virginia, we had Mr. Terry. I don't think parents should be telling schools what they should teach McAuliffe on the debate stage. He was the former governor of Virginia, and he said that at the final debate. He was up in the polls by a lot. It flipped right after that because parents were pissed. Virginia closed their schools just about more than any other state. They were as bad as California when it came to reopening the schools in Virginia. And Glenn Youngkin turned that into an opportunity. He laid out a blueprint for success for Republicans going forward. And Glenn Youngkin ended up winning that election by 6 points with education voters. And that was the number 2 issue in that election, which is a big deal because education is usually at the bottom. Voters, they rank, jobs, the economy, crime at the top. Education was number 2, and a Republican won on that issue.
Given that 50% of the bloody state budgets go to K-12 education, it should be like number 1 or number 2 all the time.
You would think, but I think for a long time people thought things were fine, right? Before they saw, if you're a high-income parent and you're sending your kid to the assigned public school, and it's consistently getting A ratings, your kids coming home with A's on their report card, they get into great universities that are good on paper.
Well, they're also, for a long time, like when I went to school as a kid, like I hated school. It bored me to death. But I have to say that my teachers didn't teach me insane things, right? And so We
And I
don't
don't know
just
when that
have
flip
it failing.
happened either.
Somewhere around somewhere around 2010, things really went sideways. They went sideways in the universities too. Like I saw that blip of political correctness in the 1990s when I was teaching in Boston, but it was mostly outliers. You know, it was the radical fringe, although a lot of them were in the educational psychology departments, but they didn't have the upper hand. And somewhere around 2010, that flipped hard. And I think that that sort of thing flips partly too. You talked about good teachers leaving. Well, one of the things that does happen as an enterprise disintegrates is that it'll hit a point of no return where it becomes so unbearable for anyone competent to be in the system, they all leave, right? And then you're just left with the worst of the worst, right? And then they hire people who are even worse than they are, and the whole thing's, gone off its railings. And so I guess part of the reason that this has become an issue is because the schools moved from merely like traditional incompetence, traditional socialist incompetence, let's say, to absolute bloody insanity. And then people started to notice. And it was likely the gender issue that did that.
And I think the more that we talk about and see that there's a lot of left-leaning bias in the schools, that might attract more people who want to change other people's children's views in that direction to select into this. So it's almost like it's a it's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
I've spoken to Republican governors about this on multiple occasions.
I think I met you at RGA, by the way. Briefly.
Yes, that's right. That's right. And I've been beating the drum on this issue, not very successfully, I would say, is that Republicans don't have a hope in hell of ever winning the culture war if they allow faculties of education to maintain their hammerlock on teacher certification, and if they continue to spend half the state's money on K through 12 education, essentially that's dominated by progressive Marxists. Like everything else that is happening is, as far as I'm concerned, it's blowing in the wind. And so I want to challenge you on a couple of things because I'd like your opinion.